Attribute selectors. Attribute selectors use the brackets. This is the only time that you will ever see brackets used in CSS. If you look at the HTML code, we have a section element, and inside we have 3 A elements. All 3 A elements have an href attribute and a title attribute. The title attribute is used to display a tooltip when the cursor hovers over that link. We also have a P element. That P element also has an A element inside it. They all have a title attribute. We can use that title attribute as a selector to identify where that style rule will be applied. If we look at the CSS code here, we see A bracket title. There should not be a space between the A and the bracket, or it will not work. What that is saying is that we will apply that rule to any A that has a title attribute. As you can see, all 4 A's have title attributes. They're in different locations in the HTML code. However, the rule will still apply. Here is another example where we're using an attribute selector in a descendant context. We have a title as a descendant of #about. If you look at the HTML code, in our section, we have the ID equals about. We also have a paragraph that has an A element. However, because we are specifying where that A exists by virtue of a descendant selector, the rule will only apply to the A elements that have a title attribute inside the element with an ID of about. The A element in the paragraph will not be affected. There are several variations on how we can define the values of the attribute selector. In the previous 2 examples, we were just looking for the existence of a certain attribute. Now we can look at the values of that attribute. We can look for an exact value or an exact match. So if an element had an attribute with a specific value, we can use that as a selector. And in this case, you can see that there is only one match where that rule will apply. We can also define a selector based on the existence of an attribute that has a value that starts with a specific letter or letters. And that is indicated by the caret sign. We have caret equals a specific value. And wherever that selector would match in the HTML document, that style would apply. Here we see there are 2 matches. We also can specify an attribute selector based on the ending of that value. And that is specified by the $sign equals. So that style rule would apply to any A element that had a title attribute that ends in the specific value. And here you can see we have 2 matches. We have another variation on the attribute selector. We can apply a style based on if the value of that attribute contains a specific word, and that is referenced using the tilde equal. And here you see where we're specifying a specific word website, and you can see that there are 3 matches where that style would apply. And finally, we have the ability to use the attribute selector for an attribute based on a part of a word. That is referenced by the asterisk equals. So any value that contained the word web, and you can see that there are 3 matches here where that style would apply.